1. I'm a 21-year-old male, currently planning a Cascadian road trip, consisting of Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. I need a new sleeping bag as my old blue one had too many holes and rips from years of use. I decided to take to the internet for a premium sleeping bag. I eventually added neoprene into the search bar. For those who don't know, neoprene is used to keep surfers, triathletes, and etc. warm in cold water. Since neoprene can keep water out and insulate heat, I figured it's perfect for chilly, misty climates. The first result I found, I clicked on it. The page was titled 665 Neoprene Sleep Sack. I was instantly impressed, and I bought one on the spot without reading the description. I thought it would be perfect. It could keep me dry and warm in Washington. After 5 days, the sleeping bag arrived from Los Angeles. I opened the box and unfolded the plastic wrap from the sleeping bag. When I held it, it felt soft and spongy, very similar to a wetsuit. My roommate came into the living room and complimented my latest camping gear. I said thanks, and then decided to try it on. I got on the carpet and climbed in. The sleeping bag has something called internal sleeves, which are basically sleeves on the inside that are stitched in place, where they can't move around. However, I didn't realize that meant it immobilizing your arms. I thought the feature was something entirely new, and I thought, cool, I'll stay even warmer. My roommate was about to go to the store, but I realized that I can't zip it up without a second hand, so I quickly asked him if he could zip it up, and he said sure. I was already in the bag with my arms in the sleeves, again sleeves that don't move, thus your arms can't move, and my roommate helped zip me up. I said thanks, and he said he'll be back in 15 minutes. He walked out and locked the door behind him. I spent about a minute getting cozy, but then I tried exiting the sleeping bag. I couldn't get my arms out of the internal sleeves. I tried backing my elbows out, to no use. I tried poking a hole, too thick. I struggled to get out for about 10 more minutes. Then my roommate came back, wondering why I didn't get out of it yet. I told him my arms were stuck in the sleeves. He pulled down the zipper and let me out. Still not realizing it was a BDSM item, I figured it might have been a design flaw. I called the company up, and a man answered. I explained to him that there might be a design flaw in the neoprene sleep sack, as I couldn't get out of it on my own. The man was a little puzzled and asked if I could repeat what I said. I did, but with more detail. He then stated, "Sir, you're not supposed to get out of it on your own. The neoprene sleep sack is a BDSM item, not a sleeping bag for camping." He hung up, and my face turned cherry red. I was embarrassed. My roommate later asked about what happened, and I just simply said, "Oh, it's just a design flaw," to save me the embarrassment. I had no idea there was an 18+ pop-up. I have a browser extension that blocks all pop-ups. I also literally only looked at the first 2 pictures in the sizing chart. It just looked like a wetsuit version of a sleeping bag to me. Moral of the story: buy pawn without purpose. Don't assume you're intelligent and know things about stuff. And also read the description. 2. One of my hobbies is to go hiking and walking solo in random places. A few years ago, I moved to a small European country with a low rural population density and lots of islands. Somehow I decided the best time to start this hobby again was on New Year's Eve, when it was bitterly cold and windy. So I woke up early and traveled to a small island that was about a 3-hour bus ride and a half-hour ferry ride away from where I lived. I got there without incident, but realized I had completely forgotten my wallet at home. So I had to survive the entire day on a few bananas I had bought. Plus I didn't have any form of ID to show I had rightfully purchased an age discount ticket. By the time I left, I had walked 10+ kilometers in a few hours, and spent the rest of the time in a waiting area, sheltering from the bitter cold outside. Unfortunately, this was only the start of the FU. I managed to take the last bus back home, beginning with the ferry that carries the bus. But I was so busy uploading the beautiful photos I took that I completely failed to notice that the ferry had already landed. By the time I did notice, it was too late. It had already started heading back to the island from the mainland, and the bus had left. I spent the next few hours desperately asking around with my terrible language skills if anyone would take me back to the city I lived in, as well as contacting any of my friends from the country who could pick me up from the mainland. It didn't help that, due to not having my wallet, it was completely impossible to go to another city and book a hotel for the night. Finally, on the very last ferry, some younger people reluctantly agreed to take me back. I was extremely thankful, and messaged my best friend at that time that everything was all right. When I finally got to the city I lived in after midnight, she, my best friend, asked me if I had gotten back safely, which I thankfully had. I learned my lesson never to forget my wallet again. Unfortunately, I thought of this story because my then best friend is probably not my friend anymore, but that's how life goes sometimes. Otherwise, it's quite a funny memory, although it might not have been quite so funny if I had been stranded in cold weather overnight. 3. Over the last few weeks, I've been getting multiple spam calls from different phone numbers. The type where you pick up the phone and there's just silence on the other end. I've tried my best to block every single one of them so I don't get bothered anymore, and it worked for a while, until I started getting calls from unknown numbers. Great. Coincidentally, I also started seeing a psychologist around the same time I started getting the no-caller ID calls. I had gone to my first appointment on a Thursday, talked to her a lot, and she told me she'd give me a call the following week in order to tell me what she discussed with her higher-up. I left the appointment and simply went about my day. That day I got 2 calls from numbers I don't know, which genuinely pissed me off. Angrily, I decide that next time I will pick up the phone and just scream bloody murder at the person on the other end. You can see where this is going. The same day, while on my way to work, I get a call from an unknown number. I was already extremely angry due to the calls from earlier. Traffic was horrible and, well, I was on my way to work. What do you expect? I pick up the phone, wait a few seconds, no one says anything, and I yell as loudly as I can for several seconds. Just pure guttural screaming. I proudly hang up the phone and continue with my drive. 2 minutes later, I get another call from an unknown number, and I'm planning to do the same thing I did before, because they clearly didn't get the message. I pick up the phone, and this time, someone does say something. The connection sucks, so I only understand the name of the city my psychologist is located in. At first, I thought it was someone calling me regarding one of the apartment renting listings I was interested in, since I was desperately looking for an apartment in the same city at the time. I froze in panic and hung up the phone. I was so embarrassed that I had just yelled at my potential landlord, but I just didn't want to deal with it, even if it meant I wouldn't have a roof over my head. I had tears forming in my eyes, but I kept driving nonetheless. A couple of minutes later, my phone rings again. This time, it's an actual phone number I don't recognize. I don't know what to think. I wasn't sure whether it was the same person from before or not, so I was debating whether I should pick up the phone given the massive fuck-up from earlier. I quickly think about an excuse for the scream and bite the bullet. I pick up the phone and then I hear my psychologist saying she's calling from the clinic I was going to. Mind you, she said she'd call me the following week, so I didn't expect it to be her calling. Obviously, I'm 1,000 times more embarrassed than I was before. I mean, I just yelled at the woman who is supposed to help me with my mental health. Now she's definitely convinced I'm actually insane. But hey, at least I didn't blow my chances of getting an apartment. I never found one, and I've continued living with my parents, in case you were wondering. I let out a deep sigh and say, hello. She then starts explaining that she already called me twice, but she thinks that the connection was faulty. What a nice way to put it. I respond and say I'm behind the wheel and that my baby sister, which I don't have, had the phone the whole time, and I didn't know what she was doing. She said it's not a big deal, and then she calmly explained my treatment plan. Ever since that incident, I've been so embarrassed to look in her eyes. All I can think about is how loudly I screamed at this poor woman over the phone. P.S. Before y'all start calling me a horrible person, I wasn't on my phone while driving. I used the hands-free function of the car. P.P.S. People over here sometimes use unknown numbers in order to hide their real number for privacy reasons. P.P.P.S. By unknown number, I mean no caller ID. When I say unknown number, I don't know. It's an actual phone number that I can see that I just don't recognize. 4. It wasn't today, but actually on July 14th of 2020. I lost my left middle finger by trying to fetch a ball from my pal's dog he threw over a fence the day before. It was raining, and halfway over the fence I decided to ditch the idea, since the fence was fairly slippery and I didn't want to get hurt. So on my way back down, I obviously slipped. My ring got caught on the fence and degloved my left middle finger. I felt a hard tug. No pain at first, though I had a feeling of what just happened. My first thought was, do I look at my hand or do I just go home? Obviously, I looked down and... "Fuck!" was the first thing I said. I grabbed the bone and remaining flesh with my unarmed hand to stop the bleeding and looked at my friend, the one with the dog. I calmly told him, "Martin, don't panic, but my finger is gone. Call an ambulance. I will lay down on the ground now. Okay?" At first he thought I was fucking with him and didn't believe me, because I stayed strangely calm, since he has severe panic attacks, and I didn't want him to get one in this situation, because that would be anything but beneficial for the both of us. He only realized I was for real when he saw red dripping out and down my hand. My friend hastily rung all the doorbells on the apartment building across the street to ask someone to call an ambulance. I didn't have my phone on me, and he forgot that you can call emergency numbers even without mobile credit. At one point, a guy rode past us on his bike. Martin tried to flag him down, yelling something along the lines of, "Hey, could you please call an ambulance?" He, gesturing at me lying on the ground, "Lost and had an accident." And I'll never forget this man's answer. After throwing one glance at me, in a cheery sing-song voice he just said, "No, I don't have time, sorry," while riding off with the brightest smile. That is still the funniest thing to me. That guy had a great day and was not willing to care for anything or anyone else, honestly. Good for him. Anyways, back to the ambulance calling problem. My friend managed to get an old lady to step out on the balcony, where she could see me, and she called an ambulance right away. Well, she actually got a little confused and called the police, but they informed the hospital to send an ambulance. Another lady also approached me just to be there for me, I think. She just rubbed my back and tried to comfort me, which was really sweet, especially seeing she was the one crying, overwhelmed by the situation. She also shielded me from the rain by covering me with her umbrella. I hope she's okay. She was an absolute sweetheart. I was lucky, I guess, since the woman who lived across the street I was laying on saw me through the window and came out to check what happened. And wouldn't you know, she was a nurse. She introduced herself to me as such, stating, "Hey, I saw you through the window. Are you okay? I might be able to help. I am a nurse and brought my first aid kit. What happened?" So I detailed the incident to her and showed her my injury. Upon seeing my mangled hand, she let out an audible gasp and whispered, "Oh, fuck." At which I couldn't help but laugh, saying, "Oh, fuck? As a nurse? It's that bad, huh?" She apologized and tried to backpedal a bit. I think she was trying not to freak me out too much, saying something along the lines of, "No, it's just I didn't expect that." To which I replied, "Well, to be fair, I basically had the same reaction, so it's all right." The kind nurse bandaged me up and waited for the ambulance with us. At that point, the pain was pretty bad, but not too much to handle. I mainly focused on my friend, constantly telling him to stay calm and breathe, since I can't bleed out, so it's all right. The ambulance and police arrived about 15 minutes after the call. They normally would have been there faster, but we had a lot of road work in the area at the time. The officers tried to figure out what happened and kept asking weird questions like, Did your friend pull you down? And did the dog eat the finger? And did the dog pull you down? Etc. They also searched for my middle finger. They basically just looked around in the bush where it happened from a distance for like 30 seconds, and said they couldn't find it. So no finger saving for me. The EMTs knocked me out with some seriously good shit and drove me to the hospital. At that point, the shock settled. I went in and out of consciousness. At the ER, they gave me a local anesthesia by shoving a needle in my mangled finger and shooting some thick liquid in there. That was the most pain I've ever felt in my life so far, but right after, no pain at all. In this moment, I actually got to look at it in depth for the first time. It looked gnarly. Most of my skin and flesh was gone, but the two bigger bones, which were astonishingly bright white, in the finger as well as the main tendon, were still intact. I could actually move my fucking bone finger. So I did just that, opening and closing my hand in awe, observing how exactly the strings work. It was fascinating. They also took some pictures, and I managed to message the clinic for the photos for my injury. If you click through to the original story, you'll be able to find the link to those. We can't post them here because the video will get taken down. They gave me another local anesthetic for the operation, this time numbing the whole arm. They couldn't put me under since I've already eaten that day. My finger couldn't be saved since they couldn't find it. I found the ring 3 days after the incident though, so that's cool, I guess. I asked if it was allowed to keep the bones they removed, but the doc said, "That's not allowed since it's a biohazard." Stupid German laws. They sent me home the next day, and I got a cute little tattoo after everything healed up nice. A little pair of scissors on a dashed line, because I'm funny like that. When I got home, I picked up my dog from my friend's apartment. Yes, the same friend, Martin. And the first thing I said to him was, "Pew pew," while doing the Spider-Man web-shooting gesture with my hand. I don't really have many long-lasting difficulties in regards to the missing finger except for occasional phantom pain, or, even worse, phantom itch. I'm a pretty positive person, so I'm just thankful that it was only one finger, and an unessential one. On my non-dominant hand at that. All in all, I would give this situation a solid 7 out of 10. The hospital foot was good, the staff was nice, and the pain was manageable. But I'm still a little salty about not being able to take my own bones home. And I physically cringe every time I think about the incident, which is annoying because I basically live next to the place it happened, and have to see that darn fence daily. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. 5. So I'm in New York City for a 2-week work thing, and have a hotel that's paid for by my workplace. I got sick last night, and to make myself feel better, I took some NyQuil and was pounding water all night to try to flush it out. I fell asleep well enough and then woke up to something wet and warm around me in bed. At first I thought I was extra sweaty through the night, maybe because of the sickness I had. But I quickly realized that instead of sweat, that it was my own piss I was laying in. I instantly get out, go to the shower, and take a quick rinse, while also getting my urine-soaked clothes rinsed out in the shower as well. I dry it off and then put all the soiled bedding in a big black trash bag I had. I hoped that the hotel used one of those waterproof mattress pads, but of course no. It had soaked through everything and went into the mattress. And it was a lot of piss. If it didn't get into the mattress, I would have just Googled around a laundromat and washed all the bedding myself to save myself the embarrassment of informing the cleaning staff. I have some morality left in me and didn't want the next person that rents the room to be laying in a urine-soaked mattress. So I went out into the hall and found a cleaning lady. I told her excruciatingly that I had an accident in the bed. She didn't seem too fazed. I'm sure they've dealt with crazier and nasty things. But I still couldn't help but feel horrified that I had told someone that an adult man, me, made a pee-pee. After what was probably an hour, finally someone knocked on my door. In stepped the cleaning lady, and what I found out later was the cleaning manager, a middle-aged Indian man. He inspects the bed, then hovers his hand over the affected area on the bed, asking me, "Is this the spot?" I'm just standing off to the side, trying not to make eye contact at all, saying, "Yes, I'm sorry, I'm sick. I drank a ton of water." Then the man starts using his raw, ungloved hand to push on the spot to see how big the area was. I was shook. He tells me he will bring a new mattress and it will be taken care of. I am literally just sitting here on the couch in the room waiting for someone to switch it out so this little nightmare can be over. I can't help but feel judged by all the staff over my incident. I imagine the conversation with the manager asking one of them to bring a clean mattress to the room. "Why, what happened to the one in the room?"
"Oh, some man-baby decided to piss himself because he has no self-control and decided it was our problem to solve."
I know that's not realistic to think, but that's what's going on through my head. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Embarrassing Stories, episode 97. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Hit that like button before you go, thank you kindly. And if you want to get these videos a little bit early, then support me through my Patreon, linked in the description. Clicking the link will take you right to it. Also, if you haven't had a chance to do so, take a look at the Hellfreezer merchandise store where you'll find mugs and hoodies and t-shirts and things like that. And if you enjoyed the video, make a little donation. Hit that $sign in the middle of the heart there, and you can select a donation of your choice. You don't have to do that, but I do appreciate it, and it keeps me in chocolate and Red Bull. Possibly other essential things, but those two are essential, right? Fairly sure they are. Alright, let's see. No other business today. I think I've done all my shoutouts. Yes, maybe, no, possibly. I think I have, yes. So let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, gonna make it a holiday-themed food one. What are holiday foods that seem to be everywhere? They're major traditions, and they're obviously selling because the stores keep selling them, but you just do not like. Like, I do not like Christmas pudding. It's like fruits, and I think there's booze in there, and it's, you know, it's personally, I cannot stand it. I don't like it. I've mentioned before I do like mince pies. That's a Christmassy kind of thing that I do enjoy, but Christmas pudding is never something I've been able to adjust my palate to appreciate. Maybe that's a better way to put it. That's a more delicate way to put it. Why don't you let me know what some of your ideas are in a comment below, or maybe you dislike Christmas pudding as much as me. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.